And welcome back to the second segment of hour number 3 here at Realside Radio. Dave Sussman here and having a great time at therealside.com. The chat room is going crazy over there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us at Realside, where we are across 60 stations on the GCN and Salem radio network across the United States. And also you can find us at Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else that, well, you know what? Just type in the Realside and you'll find us. And I got to tell you, watching this whole Super Tuesday debacle for Bernie Sanders last night was a major shock for, I think, a lot of people. I've gotten to the point with politics where, I just don't get shocked anymore. You got to stop prognosticating, but there was definitely a seismic shift that took place last night. And the Democrat Party are now, while they're pretending to be celebrating that they're going to going back to some form of, moderation. They're not going full-blown socialist. The fact is that certain demographics did show up and certain demographics did not show up last night. One of those demographics is the Latino movement, and we're seeing more and more of them moving over to President Donald Trump. We're seeing a Lexit that is happening, as we talked earlier tonight about Jexit and Blexit. Yes, there is a Lexit happening as well. And to talk about all of this, there's no better person who is literally on the ground. I'm just an opinion guy here, folks. Michelle Martinez. She is on the executive board and committee for the national secretary at the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. And you know what? Michelle is literally got her fingers in all of this. She knows exactly what's going on, and that's why it's such a delight to welcome you to the show tonight, Michelle. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, Dave. I know it's a mouthful. I am the National Secretary for the Republican National Hispanic Assembly.
Say that 5 times fast. I promise.
Right? RNHA.
There you go.
Yeah, it's incredible. We have, in our own organization, experienced a growth that's exponential. We had our national convention in 2018, and we had an amazing showing of Latinos from across this country that showed up in Las Vegas for our first convention. And from there, we have grown exponentially. We are in at least 23 states across the nation and growing. And so we're really excited. We're reaching Latinos across the board, being able to speak to them in hablo español and in English and in every format you can think of. We're on social media. We're on the ground game. We're in our churches. We're building rallies. We're working with social media influencers. We've done everything possible that we can to make sure that we reach the Latinos and get just good information out there. Unfortunately, with Spanish-speaking folks, we find that they only get one side of the story, and so we're happy to bring them the message of how well our economy is doing. Latinos bought more homes last year than ever before in history. We've got 2.4 million Latinos back at work, and we're industrious. That's what we want. We want to be able to work. So I'm happy to report that.
What you guys are doing at RNHA, is that right? RNHA?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep. What you guys are doing at RNHA is really important work. And I've got to ask you, what do you believe is the primary avenue for information that Latinos are getting their news from right now?
It's still the traditional news outlet. They like to sit around after dinner and just watch the good old news. And the reason I say this is because we've been on the ground and we've been doing our rallies, and actually we're able to reach. Let me just say, first of all, our rallies have grown exponentially. We had our first Lexit rally, as you mentioned. We collaborate with them. And it was in California here, and we had it was, well, frankly, I don't remember where it was because I've been in too many places. But it was about 200. And then, it grew we did one the next month and it was 500. And so we just keep growing exponentially. And that's true with all the organizations that we collaborate with. We also collaborate with Bienvenido. Bienvenido is an organization that is out there to reach our conservative base, specifically working with evangelists and what have you. But having said all that, I mean, honestly, what Latinos are doing is they're sitting in front of their television, listening to Univision, Telemundo, and that's how our moms and dads and abuelitas get their information. So it's not just one outlet. We have to be on multiple platforms. And what I found interesting and love, I've been able to work on the president's detail with his motorcade. I've been able to go to the White House and shake the president's hand. And there was nothing more important to the Latino community than my interview with Jorge Ramos. I had phone calls from Peru, from Argentina, from Canada. I mean, the Peruvian community was, they were ready to do a Tinker Tape parade. And so I'm really thankful because Jorge Ramos, of course, we know back in 2016, there was a scuffle at Trump's press. But what's happened is he's actually being very fair to the Latino community. I think he wants them to get both sides of the story. He did this with a border group and talking about securing our wall and immigration. And he brought us back again, 3 conservative Latinos who are involved in various Republican organizations to get our opinion of why we supported our president. And he was very fair in letting us, provide that data to Latinos and in a format that they're used to getting their information and in Spanish, which was great. I mean, we keep doing more of that, and that's how we reach our folks. Right. That along with how do we still engage the youth, right? Because we just seen with what just happened with Bernie Sanders. I mean, the white young voters are coming out for Bernie Sanders, and we need to continue to work on multiple platforms.
Michelle, we're going into our first break here in less than a minute. Tell everybody where they can find more information, and we'll bring you back after the break because I want to get into some more details here. This is really important information, but give everybody your website and where they can find you guys.
Okay. Very easy. It's www.rnha.org.
That is easy. I can remember that. That's great.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, but listen, and after the break, I want to talk. Yeah, after the break, I want to talk with you more about Jorge Ramos and Telemundo and because everything today is about messaging, and I think the more people that hear the messaging that's coming out of Lexit, Blexit, Jexit, and whatnot is people are waking up, and the biggest thing that I see from people is, I did not know that, whatever the issue may be. And you explain it to them and you have a discussion with people. I did not know that. How come the media are not telling me that? And it's because they're watching local news. We got Michelle Martinez, who is joining us here, and we will bring her back after the break. She is with the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. I got it right. And looking forward to conversing more after the break here. Dave Sussman at Realside Radio. Don't go away, folks. Gonna get down here, folks. Dave Sussman here in the chair at Realside Radio, and we're having a lot of fun. You can always give us a phone call as well. 855-732-5563. We're having just way too much fun. That is legal. And we're delighted to continue our discussion here with Michelle Martinez, who is the Executive Board and Committee National Secretary at the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. That's the RNHA, and that is rnha.org, Michelle?
rnha.org.
You got it. Good. I got it the first time.
That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm going to go home tonight. Listen, before this, I had an hour-long interview with Bo Snerdley from Rush Limbaugh's show. And so I came in here and I got 3 hours of radio. We're having just way too much fun, but my tongue is going to take a rest tonight after this show. So, Michelle, I have a question for you. All right. So we got California, which is a sanctuary state. Most View Way Forward Act, which essentially stops deportation of all illegal immigrant murderers, rapists, thousands upon thousands of these people that have been kicked out of the country over the past 20 years on America's dime. This is what the socialists, this is what AOC, Ilhan Omar, they are pushing, and the Democrats are pushing this through the House. Let me ask you, from the standpoint of just your normal, run-of-the-mill, moderate Latino population, do they know about what the Democrats are trying to do here? And how would they feel if they did know about this?
Yeah, well, okay, first of all, I know this is radio, but I don't even think there's enough screen space in the video for me to roll my eyes far enough. The truth is, Latinos want immigration laws. They want them to be efficient, but they care for them. They want border security. I mean, all these new, especially in California, the sanctuary cities, it's just insane. Latinos are looking at this going, what is going on? Now, having said that, it's also a very complex subject matter. And the reason being is because it's not, a conversation in theory for us. We have, our abuelitas, our uncles, our aunts, our cousins, maybe our own siblings and parents that are experiencing this. In my own family, I can tell you, we had a situation where I had an aunt who did everything by the book. She, filed documentation for her and her family. And by the time everything was approved, it was 16 years later. And her older daughter had actually become of age. And they didn't even tell her in time. She had to redo all her paperwork. So what ended up happening was she had a window to get here. She brought her younger son, came to America, left the daughter with her husband, and they literally lived apart for decades. And then my uncle eventually came to the United States once his daughter was settled and married, and they had grandkids. But at the end of the day, now here you have a family that's, because of our immigration laws and the inefficiency and streamlining it, a family has been broken up. But having said that, also, we understand that they were able to come legally. My cousin went through the education system here, was able to find employment, buy a home, have a happily ever after, the American dream. Now, when I see these folks rushing to the borders, they want to say it's compassion. It's not compassion when we offer them subpar lifestyles. What are they coming to? They aren't able to be gainfully employed and high-paying jobs to be able to buy a home, to build their credit. They're living in the shadows. They're taking menial jobs, and they don't have the benefits that you would have as a U.S. resident or citizenship. So it's a fallacy to say, oh, well, you're not showing compassion. No, compassion is when you can stop and love a person more than they know how to love themselves in that instance. And so for me, I feel that we really need to stop and say, okay, how do we resolve and streamline our immigration process? But the answer is not bombarding our borders. And on top of that, when you think of all the opioid issues, the sex trafficking issues, the children being ripped from their families and being utilized as pawns, it just gets really complex.
Do you hear a lot of what I hear in the mainstream media? You hear it from people like Jorge. Actually, Jorge Ramos was very intellectually honest on this. He called out Joe Biden regarding the kids in cages. He said that that was done under Obama, and Biden was blustering. Oh, blah, blah, blah. No, that was done on Jet Johnson. Jet Johnson, he initiated it. That was done under Obama. But do you think that, we talk about the media and where people get their sources of information. You're not getting real news from local news. I'm sorry. You get the weather, and you get the traffic, and you get puppies at the end. But you don't get real news. And if there is real news about the politics, it's usually derived from CNN or NBC or MSNBC. And so it's going to be somewhat biased. So let me ask you, is there a tacit acknowledgement of the reality of what is happening right now with our immigration system? Or is it basically that everything the left wants to tell you they believe?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, they get it. They absolutely, we're not that stupid. Including myself in that group of Latinos. I'll give you a perfect example. I used to work in the corporate world, and I met the maintenance woman there, and she and I became friends. So she asked me for additional work, and I said, sure, of course. So she and I have been friends for 20 years. Now she took her entire life savings applied for her residency and came here. She's been here for over 15 years. She looks at these folks bum rushing the border and says, wait a minute, this is not right. They're going to be taking our jobs. What's going to happen to us? And, they're already having to work against the unions because they're maintenance workers and they're unfair to them. The same union that says, oh, we care for you, they're the ones that treat them badly. And they see that. And not only that, but the wages aren't competitive. So they're looking at this and saying, what's going to happen to me and what is available for them? So no, we get it. And we don't necessarily look at it and go, well, wow, we should let them all in. No, they're saying send them back. It's funny that, just a personal story. She comes over and she tells me, because she knows I'm, politically involved. And she goes, well, you tell the president that I told you that they need to send them back. Because she's from El Salvador and she knows, she understands. But not just that, she gives me updates and she tells me, she got a call when all of this was happening. She got a call from her sister and she said, the pueblo is dead. There were no children. They were actually going to the families and telling them, listen, for $7,000, for $9,000, we'll take you to the border, or let us borrow your children and we'll get them back to you. I mean, the schools were empty. That's what they were calling and telling them. The schools are empty.
Right.
So I mean, there are bigger problems that are caused by this that have nothing to do with, compassion or poverty or anything of that nature. This is simply, individuals that want to take advantage of our current political,
Yeah.
just
In our last minute here, Michelle, I hate to cut you off, but in our last minute, what do you see right now as far as the trend for Latino voters? Do you expect more to come out for President Trump? What are you looking at right now?
Well, absolutely, because our efforts are endless. We are out there every day, in California alone, our state chairman, Anthony Cabasa, you may also know him as an influencer,
He's been on our show. Yeah, I love him. Great guy. Yeah.
So he's been up and down the states, collaborating with other organizations, doing cleanups, speaking at other volunteer organizations. So we're not going to stop. This is where we double down now through November, and on every platform that you can think of, we're there. We're on social media.
Right.
We're out there creating events for the communities. And like I said, if you want to get plugged in, Latinos, if you're listening, get plugged in.
Get them your website.
rnha.org.
Go give them your website again.
rnha.org.
Yeah, and everybody check it out. I mean, this is real grassroots on the ground stuff. It does have an impact, and it not only has an impact on the White House, but it has an impact on your local offices, your congressmen, your state senators, your assemblymen as well, because like you, I'm a huge believer in everything starts on the local level. Michelle Martinez, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody check her out at the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, rnha.org. Got it. And Michelle, I'll be seeing you soon. Thank you so much for joining us.